In technology, pivots happen almost as often as the weather changes in New England. But after adjusting your strategy, that doesn't mean you'll encounter a blue sky and green lights. David Teplow is the CEO and founder of Integra Technology Consulting, and welcome to the Language of Business.
Thank you, Greg.
You've been in tech for 30 years. Tell us about the first company that you started in 1986.
My first company was Database Technologies, which, as you say, I started in 1986. Our focus was on Oracle technology and applications, which made us the very first consulting company on the East Coast to focus on that technology sector.
And how did that move into Integra Technology Consulting?
That company grew and evolved over 12 or 13 years. It was ultimately acquired in 1998. I stayed on for about a year and a half after the acquisition, decided it was time to move on for various reasons, took a year off to honor a non-compete, and then decided it was time to get back in the game. So in 2000, I started Integra.
How often do you see changes in technology?
Almost monthly, but significant changes happen every 5 to 10 years, I would say.
So if you're on the technology consulting side, how do you stay ahead of your clients?
You just have to be aware of what's going on in the industry and try not to be just focused on what you know best, but constantly be aware of what's going on outside your area of expertise.
So do you consider this to be routine business strategy changes or classic pivoting?
Probably more of the latter.
Okay.
But it's something everybody should think about, I would say, in any industry.
Is there any criteria you use to determine when a pivot is necessary?
I think when you realize that an existing technology is no longer the best solution for a particular problem, you look for other technologies that solve that problem better.
So I'm intrigued, is the client coming to you saying we need to do a technology change, or have you pointed it out for them?
Usually it's us pointing out to them that they need to look at a different or alternative technology to solve a particular problem.
Now, do their eyes roll back in their head because they figure you're just trying to upsell and charge for more services, or do they begrudgingly agree with you?
I think they tend to agree with us because these are typically long-term relationships, trusting relationships, where they understand that we're doing this in their best interest, not necessarily ours.
If you have to bring them through a pivot, do you charge separately for that, or is it all one considered routine fee?
It tends to be a separate project, separate initiative, which is charged for separately.
Do you ever get any feedback from them as to whether you gave them good guidance or not?
We tend to maintain our relationships over the very long term, so I see, looking back, months or years hence, how things have worked out, make sure that things are working out well.
If somebody wants to get into tech for the first time, what would be your advice to them in terms of strategic planning?
Be hungry to learn what's new and what's different, and not just be focused on what you already know.
You have 15 people, you said, that work for Integra Technology. How do you all keep apprised on what's happening day to day?
I think we all do have that natural hunger for knowledge and are fascinated by the changes that go on in our industry.
Are you sponsoring roundtables? Are you giving the roundtables? How do you keep up on the latest and greatest?
I encourage going to conferences, meetings, meetups, and just to be constantly aware of what's going on in the press, reading up on new technologies. And we discuss that when we get together, and it's mostly something that people need to do on their own.
You mentioned that of the 15 people you have working with you, that a lot of them are client sites. How do you all keep in touch with each other during the workday?
There's not a need to keep in regular touch, but I have regular lunches or coffees or drinks with my people by going around to their sites where they are and finding out how things are going. And usually at the same time talking to the client, making sure the client is happy with the way things are going.
Have you had to do any pivots for Integra?
Absolutely. Integra was a successor company to Database Technologies, and originally in 2000, and for the first few years we were focused on a similar technology sector, that being the Oracle technology and in some cases Oracle applications section of the market. We had a big pivot maybe 5 or 6 years ago when I realized that there were bigger problems and newer technologies, more interesting, more exciting things that companies were grappling with. This being a result of the whole big data phenomenon.
And do you think you are unique in that space, or do you have your own share of direct competitors?
We certainly have some direct competitors, but not nearly as many as there were in the Oracle technology sector.
And is that because big data is just coming into its own these days, or do you have a unique competitive advantage?
It is just coming into its own. I mean, so these technologies are still relatively new, and there's new ones coming around every month or so. So it's really a question of these being brand new technology and the expertise, therefore, being brand new.
David, thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
David Teplow, CEO and founder of Integra Technology Consulting.